By the middle of his reign, King David was rapidly expanding Israel's borders across the ancient Near East. When the king of the neighboring Ammonite Empire died, power naturally transferred to his son, Hanun. Looking to maintain regional stability, David sent a delegation of envoys across the border to offer condolences and build diplomatic ties with the new ruler. But Hanun's advisors were deeply suspicious. They convinced the young king that these envoys weren't there for peace, but were actually military spies sent to map out the city's defenses for a future invasion. Acting on that paranoia, Hanun detained the diplomats and subjected them to severe physical and cultural humiliation. He ordered half of their beards shaved off and had his guards cut their garments off at the waist. In the ancient world, an insult to an ambassador was an insult to the sovereign himself. Overnight, a stable diplomatic relationship evaporated, and a neighboring superpower became an active, hostile enemy. Realizing the severity of what they had done, the Ammonites knew retaliation was imminent. They immediately opened their treasury, used a vast sum of silver to hire thousands of Aramean mercenaries to build a massive coalition force. Their deployment was a classic trap. The Ammonite army positioned themselves defensively, right at the gates of their capital city. Meanwhile, the hired Aramean forces fanned out across the open country, preparing for a wide flanking maneuver. General Joab led the Israelite army forward to meet the threat, marching them dead center into this geographical pocket. By the time he realized the trap, they were entirely wedged between two hostile fronts. The combined mercenary alliance vastly outnumbered Israel's forces. Joab's men were trapped in an open field, facing fortified defenders in front of them and a massive mercenary army closing in from behind. A coordinated strike from both sides would crush the Israelites in a matter of hours. Joab had to figure out how to stop a total massacre when completely outgunned and surrounded on two sides. Joab quickly analyzed the field and made a counterintuitive decision. Instead of clustering his outnumbered men into a tight defensive circle to weather the storm, he decided to divide his forces. He split his army in two. Joab led the elite troops into the open field to strike the Arameans. He handed the remaining infantry to Abishai to hold the line against the Ammonites. They established a strict mutual defense pact to provide instant reinforcements. This structural flexibility secured a temporary safety net, preventing an immediate rout. But battlefield geometry doesn't win fights on its own. Joab still needed a way to break the enemy's morale. The real anchor of Joab's strategy wasn't his formation. Before charging, he turned to his brother and delivered a very specific mandate. He told Abishai to be strong and courageous. But he didn't ground that courage in their own military prowess. He framed it as a selfless duty to fight for our people and for the cities of our God. Then Joab added a crucial final phrase, "The Lord will do what is good in his sight." He demanded absolute violent effort on the battlefield, while leaving the final outcome entirely in God's hands. Fueled by that absolute conviction, Joab's elite units slammed into the Aramean lines. The sheer ferocity of the Israelite charge shattered the mercenary formation, and the hired fighters broke and ran. This created an immediate psychological domino effect. Watching their highly paid muscle flee in terror across the plains, the Ammonites completely lost their nerve and retreated behind their fortified city walls. The immediate battle was won, but the war wasn't over. Refusing to accept the embarrassment of defeat, the Aramean kings regrouped, marshalling an even larger coalition force for a second campaign against Israel. This time, King David personally took command. He mobilized the entire Israelite army, crossing the Jordan River to meet this newly formed threat head-on. The resulting clash was decisive. David's forces crushed the Aramean command, forcing their kings into complete surrender. They agreed to pay tribute to Israel and permanently abandoned their alliance with the Ammonites. Israel secured the promised land by anchoring their military force in an absolute reliance on divine providence. This battlefield victory reveals the weight of delegated duty. Joab and Abishai were able to stare down a massive mercenary army without paralyzing fear because they understood their actual roles. They were mere stewards executing a specific task, not the architects responsible for engineering the final victory. That ancient military mindset mirrors a clear mandate found in the New Testament. In Colossians chapter 4, the Apostle Paul writes, see to it that you complete the ministry you have received in the Lord. The underlying reality is that God actively entrusts specific jobs, roles, and responsibilities to individuals today, exactly as he did with those ancient generals. Naturally, stepping into those spiritual roles is difficult. It inevitably invites intense opposition and pressure, and there will be moments where you feel completely encircled by the demands of the work. Viewing personal responsibilities as a divine mandate provides the steady focus required to finish the mission, fighting faithfully while trusting God with the ultimate outcome.